as a professional, we must be ethical. And that is why part of what we're trained to have in our various institutions are always on how to be ethical, because whether we like it or yes, we will be faced with challenges that we want to question our characters. And if we don't have an idea of what ethics are, we are likely to fall victim. So for us not to fall victim, that is why we're bringing this class to us today. One more time, welcome to AAA Professional Institute, and this is our channel, Accounting Education Channel, where we talk about everything accounting, everything management, everything education. All right, so like I was saying, we're talking about ethics today as our topic for today. We'll be talking about ethics dilemma. I quickly jump to this point because this is the area where most professionals find it difficult to actually, in cases where they face life situations at the course of doing their jobs, And what is an ethics dilemma? Ethics dilemma is a situation where you'll be faced with two options, either to do right or to do wrong, either to do the right thing or to join them to do the wrong thing. So as a professional, obviously we are taught to be professional, we are taught to be ethical, but realistically we will be faced with challenges. And when we are faced with these challenges, how do we handle it? So, and that is why we are here. So ethics dilemma, like I said, is a situation where you face at work, when you'll be faced with two options. Should you do the right thing at the cost of something, or you do the wrong thing at the cost of something? Now, if you do the right thing, it might be at the cost of your job. And if you do the wrong thing, it will be against the ethics that you are being, instructed to follow. The ethics of your profession. So that is ethical dilemma. You understand? I'll give you an example. Okay, what if your boss asks you to raise a voucher of, let's say, procurement of an item which costs 200,000, and from his instruction, he said you should raise a voucher of about 2 million. You can see first, the actual cost is 200,000, but the instruction from your boss, probably the owner of the business, says that you should make it 2 million. Between me and you, this is not correct, isn't it? Now, ethical dilemma is that situation with which you'll be like, what do I do? What do I do? When you ask yourself, what do I do? Am I to say the right thing? If I say the right thing, will I not lose my job? And if I do the wrong thing, will am I not working against the ethics of my profession? You see, now, one of the best solutions to raise at this point is document all instructions. Document all your instructions. Ensure you document it. The moment they are documented, you be free from it. If anything happens, let's say later on, auditors came and they were asking questions, and while this information, the said information was given to you, the instruction was given to you, they were like, okay, let's talk about. They were like, when it was given to you, you wrote you wrote it into your mail, you humbly write it through mail, convey the message to him. Whether he responds to it, whether he did not respond, let it be written from mail to mail, so that when the so-called auditors, whenever they are around, you will be vindicated by the mail, the formal communication you made from you to your boss. For example, you can type something like this: sequel to, probably the instruction was given verbally. Just go to your mail, the address, you address it to your boss, the person that gave you the instruction, because you don't have power over that instruction. You're supposed to be obedient, you're supposed to be loyal to them, but not at the expense of your profession, not at the expense of doing the right thing that you were taught as a professional. So when you get your mail, right, dear sir, sequel to the instruction given to me to raise a voucher of 2 million naira. This is for your kind approval to raise, to make the 200,000 2 million naira. What have you just done? Thank you for your understanding, sir. Thank you for your approval and your understanding, sir. Then you send it. Something like that would help you will prevent any auditor that comes around to vindicate you, will know where the fault is coming from, so that you won't be a culprit, you will not be an accomplice to such a wrong thing. That is one of the solutions to ethics dilemma. When you are faced with whether you are to do the right thing or you are to do the wrong thing, that you have to do the right thing or to do the wrong thing. Okay, so that is that for now. You must use professional judgment. You must say a professional accountant shall use professional judgment in applying these conceptual framework. Now, the code of ethics is in different the code of ethics had been formed to guide us, we professionals, but you must use it, you must apply your professional judgment on it, because you may not find on the field the exact the exact word for word code, the set of these ethical issues or fundamental codes, principles for ethics. You may not find it. In fact, you are never likely to see it that way, but you must apply your professional judgment anytime you want to, you are faced with ethical dilemma at work. Then the code then set out there are 5 fundamental principles with which a professional accountant shall comply. There are 5 fundamental principles with which a professional accountant must comply. Number 1 is what? Integrity. Integrity. All professional accountants must have integrity. That is, you must be straightforward. You must be honest in all professional and business relationships. You must be straightforward and you must be honest in all professional and business relationships. Okay. What does it further mean? This means that a professional accountant shall not be associated with reports, returns, communications, or other information where he believes that the information, number 1, contains a materially false or misleading statement. You must not be involved in such a situation. Number two, when you know that the information contains statement or information furnished recklessly, you must not, be involved in such situation also. The last one is when you know that an information omits or obscures information required to be included where such omission or obscurity will be misleading. When you are aware that there is an omission that could lead to serious damage or that could lead to a decision maker not having an informed knowledge about the subject matter, such must not be mentioned around a professional accountant. That's what we mean by integrity. Okay, the next one is excuse me. Okay. The next one is objectivity. The first one we said is integrity. The next one is objectivity. Okay, objectivity talks about professional accountants not being biased whenever they are doing their job. They must be objective. You must be objective. And remember, the opposite of being objective is subjective. If you're objective, you don't take sides. If you're objective, you must call a spade a spade. If you're objective, you must, at the face of everything, say the truth. Say it the way it is. That is being objective. And being objective also means you must not allow conflict of interest. And you must not also allow any undue influence of others to override professional or business judgment. You must not allow it. Okay? That is being objective. Okay? Relationships that bias or undue influence the professional judgment of the professional accountant should be avoided. That is, you must avoid it by all means. Okay, the next one is we have talked about two things now. Remember, we're talking about the set code of ethics. Code of ethics. Number one, we spoke about integrity. Number two, we just talked about objectivity, where we said you must be objective. You must not allow any influence to becloud your judgment. You must not allow any influence to becloud your judgment. Okay, the third one is professional competence and due care. Professional competence and due care. This is the reason for all professional institutions to set exams, test us, and be sure that we are competent enough to handle client and public information management, information reproduction and management. You understand it? Because we as accountants, we reproduce information. That is, you have been given some data, you produce those data to a final product, which is the statement financial report, and for users to use. So in doing all this, we must have what is called professional competence. You must be competent at doing it. Okay, you must be competent at doing it. You must possess the knowledge and you must possess the skill. Okay, that is another one about professional ethics and due care. Now, the other side is the due care, which is the B part of it. To have a due care means you must be you must pay attention to detail. It means you must pay attention to detail. You must handle things with all form of carefulness, due care. You must have professional competence and due care. You know, there is a word they call it. What is this word again? Due diligence. That's another one. Before you form an opinion, you must have done your due diligence. You must have gone through it, searched through it carefully, and with all the tools that are necessary to be used and applicable. And you must be sure that whatever you're saying or you're going to report is done with all form of thoroughness. You understand it? Attainment of professional competence and maintenance of professional competence is, professional competence may be divided into two separate phases. We have the attainment. When you attain it is when you are qualified, and maintaining it is when you keep nurturing your knowledge in terms of accounting, in terms of your profession, and so on and so forth. You don't stop learning. Keep equipping yourself. Keep equipping yourself. You understand it? Okay. Now, the next one we're going to be talking about is confidentiality. Remember, we just spoke about integrity, we spoke about objectivity, we spoke about professional competence and due care. The next one, which is the fourth one, the fourth code of ethics, is called confidentiality. Okay, confidentiality. Confidentiality is actually one of the keys that all professionals sworn to, be ye lawyers, be ye accountants, be ye tax professional, be ye doctors. Confidentiality, your ability to keep information within the scope of people that needed to hear it. That's not all. When you keep this information, nothing must set this information loose, come what may. Now, I used to give this example in my class to my people. The example is that if you're opportuned to sit at a board meeting where it was discussed probably the share price of the market share of their shares, market price of their shares is about to drop, say about 50%. And let's say, for instance, you have maybe your wife, kind of, not even your wife, because you're not permitted to be related to that. Okay, let's say a close friend has a very huge shares there. The confidentiality hold, prohibits you from calling such a person or informing such a person of such a development. You have to be confidential in all the information you're given. That is, you were just being opportuned. You were just being opportuned to have it. A number of other shareholders would have been on that table with you, but they could not. But you were opportune to have such information. You must treat it as confidential as possible. You must not disclose any such information to third parties without proper and specific authority. There are situations where you have to let some information out, either by legal means or by authority that are higher than you, by their instructions. Then you are permitted to let it out. Okay, a professional accountant should consider the following: whether the interest of all parties, including third parties whose interest may be affected, could be harmed if the client or employer, consent to the disclosure of information by the professional accountant. Okay, whether the relevant information is known and substantiated to the extent that is practicable. And the last one, the type of communication that is expected, to whom it is addressed. What we are trying to say is, you must take good care before an information goes out. Be sure the information gets to the right persons. Be sure the information did not set out what the public or what a third party must not know. It mustn't come from your end. You must not let it know, let it out. That is confidentiality. Okay, I hope we're following. Okay, the very last one, which is the fifth one, which is not the least, is professional behavior. Our attitude as professionals is also one of the tools that make ethics critical, because the way we carry ourselves, the way we do things, the way we comply with the laws and regulations of the land shows or separates us as professionals. You understand it? It makes us to be different. We must not be found disobeying the rules of the land. We must not be found, doing what other non-professionals are doing, and so on and so forth. So our behavior and our actions, I used to tell my students that our actions and inactions tells more whether we are ethical or we're not ethical, in all our dealings with our clients. Okay, I think that's all for now. Before we go, the next one we'll be talking about is what are the threats that usually face, professional accountants. What are the threats? Be auditors, accountant, management accountants, internal auditors, lawyers, bankers, etc. What are the threats? There are 5 threats that have been set out. Number 1 is self-interest threat, which is the threat that the financial or other interest will inappropriately influence the professional accountant judgment or behavior. The next one is self-review, the threat that a professional accountant will not appropriately evaluate the result of a previous judgment made or service performed by the professional accountant or by another individual within the professional accountant's firm. That is, if the solution to not facing this kind of threat is get an independent person that will review your work. You understand it, okay? The next threat is advocacy threat. The threat that a professional accountant will promote a client or employer's position to the point that the professional accountant objectivity is compromised. Yes, while in promoting our client's position, we must not allow it to compromise our professional position. This is very important. We must not. And that is called advocacy threat. The next one is familiarity threat. The threat that due to a long or close relationship with a client or employer, a professional accountant will be too sympathetic to their interest or too receptive of their work. This happens. We are humans, and when you stay too long in a place, besides staying too long, when you get too familiar with the entities you're supposed to check, your objectivity become kind of a little weak. You're likely not to carry the throw the sword, so to say, the way it should be thrown. You understand it? Okay, so that is called familiarity threat. Professionals must do away with it. And the very last one is intimidation threat. The threat that a professional accountant will be deterred from acting objectively because of actual or perceived pressures. When you will face it when your client raises pressure on you, or put pressure on you to not to do the right thing. It's actually called intimidation threat. And the fear of the daily bread, the fear of losing the pay, the fear of losing the job, the fear of losing the account, especially when such a client is the so to say breadwinner of the firm, so to say. There could be some form of intimidation threat. So a way to do away with it is to raise our heads up. In fact, from what we were taught, they said we should plan our exit the moment we enter into agreement with such a client. Plan your exit from the beginning. That will help you. Okay, and that's all about the 5 threats. Let me try and reiterate them. The first one is self-interest. The next one is self-review. The next one is advocacy threat. The next one is familiarity threat. And the very last one, which is not the least, is intimidation threat. I hope you're following. Okay. And that will be all for now. I appreciate you for coming around. And one more time, this is Accounting Education. I'll be bringing more of these classes to us. Please like, follow, and share if you enjoy this class. I appreciate you. See you in my next class.